The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Quirky Dog Podcast, inspired by some of the quirkiest dogs you can ever imagine and the owners who love them. This podcast is brought to you by the quirky couple themselves, Scott and Jess Williams. Their aim is to educate and entertain. Here's Scott and Jess.
Welcome, guys, and happy Wednesday. Today, we are going to talk about cancel culture in the dog world. But first, we're going to start with the quirky tip of the day.
Hang on 1 second. That's my cue.
He's too busy lighting his cigar. All right, our quirky tip of the day is, you guys, if you are in the dog sport world or the dog world or in any part of dogs, do something that welcomes others this week, this month, the rest of this year. This is a very important thing. This dog world has gotten so divided. It has gotten so ugly. It has gotten so volatile. And dog people are supposed to be nice people. It's supposed to bring joy to your life. We should not be sitting there trying to shut other people down and cancel other people that are in dogs. So if you are in any part of the dog community whatsoever, intentionally make a point today, this week, this month, the rest of 2024 to welcome other people into it and not look like such an exclusive, assholey type of group.
Wow.
That's my quirky tip of the day. Yeah. So we've been having a lot of this kind of spinning out of control, I'd say, over the last decade. But this past year specifically has just been a lot of ugly. And I'm very big on focus what you love instead of bashing what you hate. And we try to be like that as much as possible on the podcast. But this has come to a head in a lot of ways that we have to kind of address it, at least peripherally. And we're going to give you our 2 cents. Because really, it's so divisive out there. Okay, we have an election coming next week. When we sit here in these chairs, we'll hopefully know who the president is if it doesn't go on for days and days and days. There's a lot going on in our nation, in our world, and the divisiveness is just getting more and more and more intense in different areas when you're talking about politics and everything else. And it's transcending into dogs now more than ever as well. And it's not a, why can't we be friends? I understand that people draw hard lines and everything else with ethics. But if you really have a message and you really have good content and you really have good information to provide to other people, you shouldn't need to use your platform to focus on others all the time. You should just be focusing on yourself and your own greatness. And I really, really think it's important. And this is coming to a head this year. And I hope as we go into 2025, we see much less of this. And whether it be cohesion or whether it just be shutting our mouths more or whatever else, it's very important to respect other individuals, other professionals in the industry, other methodologies, and kind of live and let live. People are able to train their dogs and do with their dogs with whatever they want, use whatever tools they want, train with whatever methodologies they want, and we don't need to be stamping on other people's parades. It's very important to me.
Yeah, well, I think the internet is probably responsible for most of that because people are not that ugly to each other face to face. It's always typing stuff and critiquing other people's videos and all that stuff, and it's just not necessary and it's not helpful most of the time. No,
and if anything, it's harmful, and it's just creating this very standoffish view of the dog world and the dog sport people and all of this stuff, and it's not fair. If there is a country that wants a professional to come into a seminar in that country and there's going to be people paying them, we shouldn't now be starting petitions to ban this person from going to that country. We shouldn't be starting all of these very politically minded campaigns, and really what it's doing for a lot of people, it's benefiting your own algorithm. If you're constantly focusing on other people and what they do and everything else, it's only drawing attention and driving the engagement that you get on your own platform. And you should have your own content. You shouldn't need to use other people to create content, and you should not be an asshole. And I guess that's the number one rule of all of this is it's really getting out of hand, and I don't think it's helping dogs. I don't think it's helping owners, and I definitely don't think that it's helping our society.
Yeah, I think, I know a handful of what I would consider the very best dog trainers in the world that live in the United States. And none of them are engaged in any of this stuff. Yeah. They're actually training dogs. They're out there just training dogs every day, whether it's for movies or tricks or hunting or French ring sport, but they're actually working. They don't have time. They don't care about getting online and just starting to do all this crap, all this negative stuff. There's just no time for it.
Yeah, and using their platform to spread hate. Yeah. And that's what the most important thing is, that we're having a positive contribution on dogs and owners, that we're imparting wisdom that other people can take to help make their lives easier, to help their dogs' lives be, happier and, merrier and everything else because of the wisdom we're providing them, not just bashing and not just mouthing off. It's really not fair. And I think we've gotten very all or nothing, you know what I mean? And yes, the election is coming up next week, but, people that are sitting there like, well, if you're going to vote for Trump, you must be a racist, or, if you're going to vote for Kamala, you must like to kill babies. Like, everyone is just assuming that everything's all grouped into one. And this is such an issue when it comes to dogs as well. There's people in the positive reinforcement community being called out for advocating for, abuse and aversive methods in dogs just because they're not taking an active stance and saying, no, I'm not going to communicate with these people. I'm not going to acknowledge that these things exist. I'm not going to live in reality here. And when we start to get so all or nothing, the hate gets turned up to a meter that literally I don't even sometimes want to be a part of the dog community. Like, it's upsetting me to the point where, like, is this really what we think is in the best interests of dog owners nationwide, worldwide, everything else? How are we contributing by just bashing and just constantly calling people out? And yes, abuse is abuse. There's laws against abuse. There's abusers that's already been dealt with. I understand all of that. If people respect an individual, they have an audience who wants to pay them for their knowledge, live and let live. Be your best self and stop raining on other people's parades. I do not think it's helping a darn thing.
No, and it's the vocal minority that are creating all this issue. It's not the majority. It's just a very loud, small segment of people, whether it's political, it's the dog world, that need to get out and just start bashing and yelling, and this is the way it should be, and this, that, and the other thing. And it's, it would be good just to, if you feel compelled to comment, the mature thing to do would be to point out, just like you would if you were in real life and someone's working their dog and you see something that you don't like, or you think that you could help them improve that, you might say, have you tried this or that? This is what we did in club all the time. The dog's having trouble with something. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Because most people that have been doing a particular dog sport, they know 15 different ways to accomplish the same goal. So some people that are newer don't have all these different options. So you want to just help each other to succeed. That's the whole point of being in a club. And dog sport clubs are not as plentiful as they used to be. And everyone's kind of out there on their own.
Yeah, if you have a better idea, the proof is in the pudding. Run your dogs, not your mouth. Show us what it looks like, what the better alternative is. Show us, rather than just mouthing off and hiding behind your screens and using that platform to really just spread hate. I really don't like the spreading of the hate. Okay, let's go to break super quick. When we get back, we're going to unhash this a little bit more.
Want to keep up with all the latest from the Quirky Dog podcast like me and Murphy here? Then make sure you head on over to the YouTube channel and subscribe. Or if you prefer to listen to the madness, go on over to iTunes or Spotify and follow the Quirky Dog podcast. And hey, while you're there, leave a rating and review and let them know what you think of the show. Until then, keep it quirky.
Okay, so getting back to cancel culture a little bit in and of itself, some people think it's the greatest thing ever, that, we're changing syrup brands and we're taking statues down and everything else. Some people think it's crazy because it's historic and what are we doing messing with everything? The difference is what's happening right now in the dog world. These are current professionals, current practices that are helping dozens, hundreds, sometimes thousands of people in present day. Like, this isn't something where we're talking about, it's the Keeler method and everybody, we're acting that everybody should go to seminars, watching this. It's stuff that has been progressing, that has been building on itself, that has taken years and decades of experience to get to the finesse level that it's at. And people are still trashing that. And I really do not think that if something is effective and helping the dog harmoniously and helping the dog and the owner live a better life together, that we should be not, definitely not taking it off the table, but two, just constantly constantly putting it in such a negative light. Again, the proof is in the pudding. If you can replicate something with your own methods, please show the world how that is done. Everyone is wanting to be more positive, less compulsive, more leaning into the relationship and everything else. And when you're sitting there and you're basically saying like, oh, no, this can't be it. This isn't the way the world should be. This isn't what's going to happen. You're not the person that's able to make this choice. This is not your decision. It is dog owners' decisions. And I think that that's an important point that we look at. Dog owners are looking for ways to help their household function, to help keep their dogs in their homes, to help prevent their dogs from having to be behaviorally euthanized. These are real things on the table that create real consequences. And when we keep just excluding owners from different avenues and different options and everything else, it makes a lot of people a lot more hopeless. And I think it's really important that we're infusing hope, we're infusing joy, we're infusing solutions into the dog owning community rather than taking it away constantly. And the methodology stuff and the fighting about regulation and everything has been going on for a while, but it's new now to come and target professional A, professional B, whatever you want to call it, and just do a smear campaign against them. It's defamation. We cannot be doing this against professionals in our industry that are truly out there with good intentions and literally helping people day in, day out. And they've been doing this year after year, decade after decade. It's just not right.
No, and I think that, I don't know that, I stay off the internet. I stay off Facebook, and because I'm better off not being involved in all that stuff. But quite often, the person that's being smeared, they're helping more people and dogs than the people that are bad-mouthing them. They're not doing anything. Yeah. I mean, these people are, the dog daddy comes to mind. So he's a guy that is doing seminars all over the place. He's got his hands on dogs a lot. I mean, every seminar, I've seen some videos, and he's got 15 dogs there. They got all kinds of problems, and he's trying to troubleshoot and help people with all their dogs to the best of his ability. And then he's got all these people saying you're terrible and you should not be doing anything. But the people that are saying that are not helping any dogs. That's the problem. So now the people, if you remove these people that are out there actually trying to work with dogs, then what do we got left?
Yeah.
All these dogs with problems, and the people that say, you shouldn't use any of those kind of methods, don't use that person. They're like, okay, well, what do I do?
Yeah.
And they're not getting any answers there either.
And he's a pretty extreme example. Yeah. People feel varied about him, and even some people going after him, I would say, are helping people day in, day out in the dog world. But he's a great example of someone who specifically had a smear campaign against him. And I think now he's more popular than ever. Sometimes what happens is it just increases someone's popularity and increases someone's views. You're trying to draw attention to the issue.
You're giving but more really, exposure.
Yeah, you're just giving him more exposure. Yes, your own channel has gotten more engagement and your algorithm's gone up and everything else by focusing on that as well. But I think if anything, when the dog daddy specifically was having issues and people were going after him, he's now more popular than he was before all of this started. Yeah. And we like controversy as a society. It's fun. We like the shows that are, having more conflict than the happy-go-lucky things. I understand the way that we function as humans. But getting involved in something that has nothing to do with you, you really need to take a step back from that and realize, what is my intention here? How is my energy better utilized? How is my time better spent? And like Scott's saying, he basically stays away from it because it's not bringing fulfillment into his life. I wanted to mention it here today on the podcast because I think it's coming to a head. I think we need to have a hard stop as we turn the page on 2024 and we head to 2025. We cannot shit on everyone that doesn't agree with us just because you're pissed off that your voice isn't the loudest and that people aren't all listening to you. It is not fair. And that's across all methodologies. There are some people out there that literally go from person to person to person to person to person, and they're nitpicking everybody, and they want to use their channel to create this negative, halo over all of these professionals. And these professionals are out there trying to help. They're giving seminars. They're trying to help with the best knowledge that they have. They have schools sometimes. They're trying to help people with the best methods that they have learned and the best ways that they have progressed over the years. And they really have great intentions. So if your intention is just to shut down different facets of the dog world, that's all fine and good, but it's going to have very grave effects because people need as many resources as possible to make progress these days. And Scott and I are the first people to say that we go and we rearrange our toolbox and we add to our toolbox all the time. Like, we're always coming up with new techniques to help. We're always seeing things we haven't seen before. We're always thinking outside the box. The industry is constantly evolving, and we need to allow people to look in every corner that they can to get the help that they need. And ultimately, it's to help these dogs. We don't want these dogs going back into the shelters. We don't want these dogs having to lose their lives because of behavioral euthanasia, because of severe anxiety or aggression. And it's happening left and right, more and more and more. And I think it's really important that we take a look in the mirror and we start with addressing ourselves with, what is my intention? How do I want to serve the community versus who can I hate on today and get all my followers to gang up on them as well? I don't think it's a good practice in dogs or in life, really. I don't think it's going to help everybody.
The other side of the coin here, too, is that a lot of these people that are critiquing everybody are doing it just to get their own views and followers. Mm-hmm. So I see it in the weightlifting videos also, which personal fitness is much bigger than the dog training as far as influencers and that stuff. So I see where, one guy will critique the most popular fitness influencer and just tear him to shreds. But the most popular guy's name is in the title of his video. So he's getting videos, he's trying to steal, the viewers from that to critique it and make himself look like he knows more. But really, it's just about them building up their platform so that they have more viewers and all that stuff too. Because some of them will do a negative review of 15 different people, because that's where the views are. It's in these reviews now. So
it's in the rants.
let's tear down this thing. And some of them are really good. The most educated people that do that, when they do a review, they're saying, I don't like this. This is great. This is really good what he's doing here. This thing I would change, but it still works. So they're more objective.
Thoughtful.
They're more objective in their review. But the ones that just come in and just start bashing, this is terrible, that's terrible, this person shouldn't even be allowed to touch a dog. That's them trying to get the Dog Daddy's viewers. They're trying to get Ivan Balabanov's viewers because they have a big following and they want a piece of that pie so that they can get their sponsors and they can do all that, make a living online doing nothing.
Yeah,
which is really what it is. If you're making money online,
engagement.
you're not physically doing much. You make your content, you sell your content, that's it.
Yeah, if you're an influencer, you're not a dog trainer. And there are people doing both. I'm not saying that. There are people that are living in both lanes right now. But if you are not making money training dogs, a professional dog trainer is someone who makes money training dogs. A professional boxer is someone who makes money boxing. You are not a professional dog trainer if you are not actually making your income through dog training. If you're just making your income through channels like YouTube, through sponsors, everything else, you're a professional influencer. And that's all fine and good. But stop raining on the parade of the people who are actually helping in the dog world. And a lot of these people that are really loud on their platforms aren't really even making that much of an impact. It's just white noise that's just a waste of time. There are a lot of bigger pressing issues here in our country, in our world, in dog ownership than listening to people whine and rant all day, every day. And some people have taken their platforms and that's all that it is. Every day we just go from person to person to person, nitpick this, nitpick that. This person shouldn't be allowed to touch dogs. And it's cancel culture. And I don't think that cancel culture is productive in general, but I certainly don't think that it's productive right now in the dog world. And it's something that we really have to take a hard look at and kind of segue away from as we head into a new year, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And for me personally, it's easy for me to get caught up in negativity. And that's why I tend to stay off the internet, because I can go down that road and then I could spend 10 minutes on the internet and think about that the rest of my day.
Yeah.
Like I'm bitching about something that, is meaningless, but it's just festering in my head about, oh, that guy said this, this wasn't right, I didn't like that, or whatever it is. So I know that about myself, and so I intentionally try to not forget about engagement. I don't even want to watch stuff that can have a negative influence on me. I just want to get up in the morning, have a good breakfast, do my work,
Scott
hit the
likes
gym.
to keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it really simple. And my attitude has been great. I feel pretty good most of the time.
Yeah, but focusing on ourselves is most important, and focusing on how we can impact the world with the dogs in our care, and focusing on how you can impact your clients and dog owners in your circle. That's where we should be focusing. Let's help dogs and owners and stop tearing people down, okay? It does not help. A lot of division coming up. Next week when we're sitting in these chairs, either person, either candidate could be our president, and the world will go on. Like, everything is going to go on. And the dog world, we have to stop bringing the same political divisiveness to the dog world, because it's turning people away who are kind of interested in the dog world, kind of interested in dog sports, and it is absolutely positively not serving dog owners out there who truly need help right now. And so many of us out there are trying to help, us included. So be a part of the solution, not the problem.
Do you realize our democracy is being held in the balance here?
Scott's been smoking a lot of cigars. We're going to have to head out before we do any more chatting. Next week, we are having our clients, our friends, Magali and Chad, and their Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever, Canine. They just got back from Dock Diving Nationals. They're new to dog sports. They're going to talk all about their dog sport journey. You guys have a great week. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And in the meantime, keep it quirky. Bye, guys.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.